Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever noticed that when a storm comes, the trees that are deeply rooted remain standing, while the weaker ones get uprooted? In the same way, when the storms of life come, anger, stress, unexpected problems, the strength of our mind determines whether we will stand strong or break down. Today, I want to share with you something very important: how to train your mind to stay calm in any situation. Because if you master calmness, you master your life. Awareness is truly the foundation of calmness, because without awareness, we are like passengers sitting in a car that someone else is driving recklessly. Imagine a person who becomes angry instantly at the smallest trigger, who reacts without even realizing that anger has already taken control of his tongue, his expression, his behavior. By the time he notices, damage is already done. But when a person trains himself to become aware, he notices the storm before it arrives. He can feel his heart racing, his breath getting heavier, his mind preparing for reaction. That very moment of noticing is the difference between being mastered by your emotions or mastering them. Awareness does not mean suppressing feelings. It means observing them as they rise. Just like when you see dark clouds gathering in the sky, you don't panic, you simply prepare for the rain. In the same way, awareness helps you prepare before your emotions pour down uncontrollably. When you are aware, you create a gap between stimulus and response. Someone insults you, but before your tongue fires back, awareness whispers, "Pause, is this necessary?" When life throws stress your way, awareness reminds you, "Take a deep breath. Don't let pressure dominate your mind." That inner voice, that gentle reminder, is born out of awareness. It makes you the driver of your emotional car, not a helpless passenger. And the more you practice awareness daily, by checking in with your thoughts, by noticing your moods, by reflecting on your actions, the stronger your ability to stay calm becomes. Awareness is like turning on the lights in a dark room. The furniture was always there, but without light, you stumble and hurt yourself. With light, you move with clarity. In life, emotions are always present, but awareness is the light that allows you to walk safely without being hurt by them or hurting others. If calmness is a destination, awareness is the first step on that journey, and without it, the path will always feel confusing and uncontrollable. Pause before reacting is one of the most powerful disciplines a human being can cultivate, because most of the regrets in life are born not out of what others did to us, but out of what we said or did in haste. Think of a time when someone spoke harshly to you, and instead of waiting, you responded instantly with equal or greater harshness. In that moment, the emotion felt justified, but later the heaviness of guilt, the hurt it caused, and the broken bond remained. A pause is like a golden filter that saves you from such damage. When anger rises, when panic surges, when pressure mounts, the natural tendency of the mind is to explode. But if you just pause, even for a few seconds, you give yourself the chance to choose your response instead of being driven by reaction. It is not weakness to pause, it is strength, because it requires self-control to hold back the volcano inside and allow it to cool before it erupts. The pause is not silence alone, it is wisdom. It is the gap that gives you clarity to ask yourself, will my next word heal or hurt? Will my action make things better or worse? Even in the battlefield of life, The pause becomes a strategy. Great leaders, wise saints, and calm thinkers throughout history have shown that waiting a moment before responding makes decisions more effective. The pause can be as simple as closing your eyes and breathing deeply, or as subtle as drinking a sip of water before speaking. These small actions break the chain of impulse and bring you back to balance. Remember, a pause does not delay your life. It protects your life from unnecessary scars. It is like a safety lock on a powerful machine. You don't disable the machine. You just ensure it doesn't harm anyone. The habit of pausing before reacting transforms relationships, strengthens patience, and builds an aura of calmness around you. People begin to trust you because they know you don't speak recklessly, you don't act rashly. They see a strength in you that is rare in this fast, reactive world. And the truth is, every time you pause before reacting, you win, not against others, but against the storm within yourself. Shifting focus from problem to solution is an art that separates those who drown in difficulties from those who rise above them. Life will never stop presenting challenges, financial struggles, relationship issues, health scares, unexpected setbacks. If you keep staring at the problem, it grows larger in your mind, like a shadow on the wall that seems bigger than the object itself. The more you fixate on what went wrong, the more powerless you begin to feel. But the moment you shift your focus toward what can be done, your inner energy changes completely. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you start asking, "What can I do about it?" That single shift turns a victim into a problem solver. It doesn't mean you deny the problem or pretend it doesn't exist. It means you refuse to give the problem more attention than the solution deserves. For example, if a student fails an exam, staring at the failure will only create shame and fear. But focusing on studying differently, seeking help, or practicing more will open the door to improvement. In the same way, when a person loses a job, crying endlessly over the loss doesn't change the reality, but focusing on upgrading skills, exploring opportunities, or building resilience does. The human mind is like a magnifying glass. It enlarges whatever you focus on. If you magnify problems, they appear unbearable. If you magnify solutions, courage and creativity awaken within you. Many times, people say, "I don't see a solution." The truth is, they don't see it because they are blinded by the problem. Shifting focus requires calmness and awareness, and it often comes from asking empowering questions. Instead of saying, "This is impossible," say, "What's the next best step I can take?" Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," ask, "How have others handled similar situations?" Solutions rarely arrive all at once. They come step by step, but only to the mind that is willing to look for them. Even in the darkest of tunnels, a small candle is enough to guide the way forward. That candle is your shift in focus. When you train yourself to look for the way out rather than staring at the walls, you discover that no problem is permanent. Every difficulty carries the seed of a solution, and it will only grow if your attention nurtures it. By shifting your focus, you stop feeding fear and start feeding faith. And in that process, your mind learns to stay calm even in the toughest storms. Detaching from negativity is one of the greatest strengths a person can develop, because the world will never run out of negative people. negative comments, and negative situations. Every day, you may encounter someone who criticizes you unfairly, someone who doubts your abilities, or someone who tries to pull you down with their bitterness. If you allow every arrow of negativity to pierce your heart, you will walk through life wounded, drained, and discouraged. Detachment does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop allowing other people's poison to enter your peace. It is like walking through a garden where thorns exist, but you choose to admire the roses. The thorns are there, but they do not control your joy. In the same way, negative voices may surround you, but you decide whether to let them shape your inner state. When you attach yourself too strongly to negativity, it becomes like a chain that ties you down. A harsh word from someone keeps echoing in your mind. Their criticism keeps replaying, and slowly you start believing it. But when you learn detachment, you hear the same words, you notice the same behavior, yet you say to yourself, "This is not mine to carry." You begin to treat negativity like background noise. It exists, but you choose not to tune in. Even social media today amplifies negativity. A single negative comment can overshadow hundreds of positive ones if you allow your mind to attach itself to it. But training your mind to detach is like training a warrior to ignore distractions in battle and keep his focus on the goal. Detachment also means understanding that negativity often comes from people who are themselves hurting. A bitter person spills bitterness, an insecure person spreads insecurity, and an angry person projects anger. If you take their words personally, you become a mirror of their pain. But if you detach, you see clearly that their negativity is a reflection of them, not of you. This awareness frees you from unnecessary suffering. The practice of detachment is like holding an umbrella in the rain. You cannot stop the rain from falling, but you can prevent it from soaking you. Similarly, you cannot stop people from being negative, but you can shield your peace by not absorbing their energy. Detachment is not coldness, it is wisdom. It allows you to engage with others without being consumed by their moods. It allows you to love without losing yourself, to care without being crushed, to listen without being broken. When you develop this inner strength, you begin to shine differently. People may wonder why you don't react to insults, why you don't break under criticism, why you don't collapse when negativity surrounds you. The answer lies in your quiet choice. You refuse to give power to what was never meant to control you. Detachment creates space in your mind, and in that space, calmness flourishes. You become like a mountain. Winds may blow, storms may rage, but you stand firm, unshaken, and peaceful. Practicing gratitude is one of the most transformative ways to train the mind to remain calm, because gratitude shifts your perspective from what is missing to what is already present. Many times, we are disturbed not because life has taken everything away, but because our attention is trapped on the one thing we do not have. A person may have good health, a supportive family, food to eat, and a roof overhead, yet they remain restless because their mind clings to one unfulfilled desire. Gratitude breaks this cycle. It gently teaches the heart to see abundance instead of lack. When you wake up in the morning and say, "Thank you for another day," you begin your day with calmness because your focus is on the gift of life itself rather than the burdens you must carry. Gratitude has the power to silence complaints. Think about it. When you are counting your blessings, your mind has no room to magnify your problems. The more you practice gratitude, the more your inner lens changes. Instead of saying, "Why is my life so hard?" you start saying, "Even in this challenge, what can I be thankful for?" A person who practices gratitude in difficulties does not deny the pain, but chooses to see the hidden good. For example, losing a job may seem like a disaster, but gratitude can remind you this is a chance to explore new opportunities, to discover new strengths, to grow. Gratitude does not change the situation instantly, but it changes the way you walk through it. When you train your mind to be grateful, calmness naturally grows. Gratitude acts like a soothing balm on the wounds of stress. Even in a crowded place, when worries are loud, gratitude whispers softly, "You still have much to be thankful for." It shifts your heart from agitation to appreciation. Many spiritual teachers describe gratitude as the bridge between chaos and peace, because it connects you to the higher reality that life, with all its ups and downs, is still a blessing. A gratitude also builds resilience. A grateful person bounces back faster from setbacks because their mind is trained to see the positive thread woven into every negative fabric. They do not crumble when plans fail because they know life is not only about what you lose, but also about what you gain through loss. Gratitude keeps you grounded in the present moment. When you appreciate the now, you stop chasing peace in the future and begin experiencing it today. The practice can be very simple. Keeping a journal to note 3 things you are thankful for each day. Pausing before meals to acknowledge the food you are about to receive. Or silently appreciating the people who stand by you. These small acts reprogram the mind so that even in storms, it remembers the sun still shines somewhere above the clouds. The truth is, gratitude does not eliminate problems, but it reduces their power over you. It gives you a calm heart in the middle of turbulence. It makes you realize that peace does not come when everything is perfect. It comes when you notice the perfection in what you already have. And once your heart is anchored in gratitude, no storm of negativity, no wave of stress, no cloud of worry can easily shake your calmness. Breathing deeply is perhaps the simplest, yet most powerful way to regain calmness in the middle of chaos. We often underestimate the power of the breath because it happens automatically, but hidden within this natural process lies an incredible tool to control the mind and emotions. When we are angry, our breath becomes shallow and rapid. When we are anxious, our breathing becomes irregular. When we are calm, our breath flows naturally, smoothly, and deeply. This shows that the state of the breath and the state of the mind are directly connected. If you want to calm your mind, you must begin by calming your breath. It is like having a remote control in your hands. By adjusting your breath, you adjust your emotions. In moments of stress, the body releases tension, the heart rate rises, and the mind races with thoughts. But when you consciously take a slow, deep breath, something magical happens. The body relaxes, the heartbeat stabilizes, and the mind receives a signal that it is safe. You move from survival mode into balance. Even just inhaling deeply through the nose, holding for a moment, and exhaling slowly through the mouth can change your entire state of being. That is why ancient wisdom, meditation practices, And modern science all agree on one thing: the breath is the bridge between the body and the mind. Breathing deeply is also a way to anchor yourself in the present. Most of our worries come from living either in the past, rehashing what went wrong, or in the future, imagining what might go wrong. But when you focus on your breath, you return to this very moment. You feel the air entering and leaving, and for that short time, you are no longer a prisoner of regret or fear. You are simply here, alive, connected. That presence creates calmness naturally, because the present moment is rarely unbearable. It is usually our thoughts about the past or future that disturb us. Even in the most heated situations, a few deep breaths can prevent an explosion. Think of a person in a conflict. Words are about to fly out in anger, but if he pauses and takes a deep breath, it cools his nerves, clears his head, and allows him to respond with wisdom instead of regret. In this way, breathing deeply is not weakness. It is the strength to hold back the storm. This practice does not need hours of meditation or complicated techniques. You can do it anywhere, in a crowded office, during an argument, while waiting in traffic. Just a few conscious breaths can make the difference between panic and peace. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Over time, the body learns to return to calmness more quickly because the breath has trained it. Breathing deeply also has a spiritual dimension. Breath is the very sign of life. Each inhale is a gift, each exhale a release. When you breathe consciously, you are not just calming the body, you are reminding yourself that life itself is a blessing. In that realization, the mind becomes quiet, the heart becomes steady, and the soul feels nourished. So whenever challenges come, remember you carry with you a tool more powerful than anger, more soothing than worry, and more immediate than any external solution: your breath. By mastering it, you can master your emotions, and by mastering your emotions, you can master your calmness. Choosing perspective over panic is what truly separates those who collapse under challenges from those who rise above them with grace. Every situation in life can be looked at in two ways: through the lens of fear and panic, or through the lens of perspective and wisdom. Panic magnifies the problem, makes it appear bigger than it really is, and robs you of the ability to think clearly. Perspective, on the other hand, puts the problem in its proper place, showing you that while difficulties may be real, they are rarely permanent, and they always carry a lesson within them. When a sudden challenge strikes, the natural instinct of the mind is to say, "This is the end, I cannot handle this. Everything is ruined." But perspective whispers, "This is only a moment in your journey, and like every other moment, it too shall pass." Think of the ocean. When you are drowning in the waves, panic tells you that you are finished. But when you rise above, maybe on a boat, the same waves look small and manageable. The waves did not change, your position did. That is what perspective does. It lifts you above the storm so you can see it for what it is. Life's problems may shake you, but they do not have the power to destroy you unless you hand them that power through panic. Perspective gives you the courage to ask, "What is this situation here to teach me? What growth is hidden in this pain? How can this setback redirect me towards something greater?" Suddenly, the same difficulty becomes a teacher, not a tormentor. Panic always narrows your vision, like a tunnel where all you see is darkness. Perspective widens your vision, showing you that beyond the tunnel, there is still light. A person who panics in failure sees it as the end of their story. A person with perspective sees failure as feedback, a chance to learn what not to repeat, a stepping stone towards success. A person who panics when relationships get difficult feels life is falling apart. A person with perspective understands that every relationship goes through phases, and storms can deepen the bond if handled with maturity. This choice between panic and perspective is made in the mind, and training the mind means repeatedly reminding yourself that your current situation is not your final destination. Panic says, "Why me?" Perspective says, "Try me." Panic focuses on what you lost. Perspective focuses on what you can gain. Panic creates stress, fear, and helplessness. Perspective creates calmness, courage, and hope. Perspective also connects you to faith. When you remember that a higher power governs life, you stop panicking over what you cannot control. You begin to see even the worst situations as part of a bigger picture that you may not understand now, but will make sense later. This does not mean you sit idle. It means you do your part with calmness, trusting that the storm will eventually pass. Every great personality we admire, leaders, thinkers, spiritual guides, has faced storms. But what made them stand out was not the absence of problems, it was the presence of perspective. They trained their minds to look beyond panic, to find meaning in struggle, and to remain calm when everything seemed to be falling apart. If they had panicked, they would have broken. But with perspective, they built strength that inspired millions. So when life shakes you, pause and ask yourself, am I looking at this with panic or with perspective? The problem might remain the same, but your response will decide whether it breaks your calmness or builds your character. In that choice lies the true power of the mind. Surrounding yourself with calm people is one of the most underestimated but most powerful ways to train your own mind to remain steady, because human beings are deeply influenced by the energy and behavior of those around them. Just as a piece of iron kept near fire gradually becomes hot, and a piece of iron left in ice becomes cold, in the same way your inner atmosphere is shaped by the company you keep. If you live constantly among people who complain, panic, and magnify problems, your mind begins to absorb that same negativity, and even small issues start feeling overwhelming. But when you are around calm, balanced, and thoughtful people, their presence naturally teaches you how to slow down, how to breathe, and how to see life from a higher perspective. Calm people are not those who never face problems. They too face storms, but they carry a different attitude in the middle of it. Observing them is itself a lesson. You notice how they pause before speaking, how they refuse to be provoked by every small irritation, how they carry patience even when things don't go their way. This silent teaching begins to influence you more than words ever could. Their energy becomes contagious, and without even realizing, you start responding to life with more composure. On the other hand, the opposite is equally true. Imagine someone who spends most of their time with people who explode at the slightest trigger, who constantly gossip, who exaggerate problems and create drama in every conversation. Such an environment never allows calmness to grow. Your mind becomes restless, You lose control over small situations, and stress becomes your companion. It is not because you wanted it, but because the people around you modeled it day after day. That is why ancient wisdom always emphasized the importance of satsang or good company. It is easier to learn calmness when you see it lived by those you admire. Surrounding yourself with calm people also gives you an anchor during difficult times. When your emotions are running wild and you are about to lose control, a calm friend or mentor becomes the reminder you need. Sometimes they may not even give advice. Their very stillness reassures you that storms can be weathered. Their presence becomes like a mirror, reflecting back to you the calmness you forgot you had. This doesn't mean you should run away from everyone who struggles with anger or panic, but it means you should be mindful of who you spend the majority of your time with. You can still care for and support those who are struggling, but your own growth requires that you also stay in environments where peace, wisdom, and patience are practiced. Otherwise, you will always be trying to swim against the current of negativity. The truth is, we all become like the people we admire and associate with. If you want calmness, seek out those who live it. If you want balance, learn from those who carry it. Over time, you will notice that your mind begins to naturally imitate their habits. You pause where earlier you would have reacted. You breathe where earlier you would have shouted. You smile where earlier you would have frowned. This is the silent power of company. It shapes us in ways we cannot always see but always feel. So choose your circle wisely. Let it be filled with those who uplift you, who inspire you to respond instead of react, who remind you through their actions that peace is possible even in the busiest, most challenging situations. Because when calmness surrounds you externally, it becomes far easier to cultivate it internally. Spiritual grounding is like having deep roots in the soil of life. A tree with shallow roots may look green for a while, but the moment a storm arrives, it gets uprooted easily. A tree with strong roots, however, can face the fiercest winds and still stand tall. In the same way, when your life is rooted in spirituality, whether through prayer, meditation, reflection, or connection with a higher power, you carry an inner stability that no external storm can easily shake. Without grounding, the mind runs wild like a kite without a string, easily carried away by fear, stress, and negativity. But when the mind is tied to something higher than itself, it becomes steady even when everything outside is uncertain. Spiritual grounding is not about escaping from problems or pretending difficulties do not exist. It is about developing the inner strength to face them with peace. Prayer, for example, does not always change the situation instantly, but it changes you. It calms your anxiety. It reassures your heart that you are not alone, and it reminds you that there is a wisdom beyond your own understanding at work. Meditation slows down the racing thoughts that otherwise push you toward panic. Sitting in silence with yourself, observing your breath, and connecting to your deeper self creates a calmness that no amount of noise can disturb. Reflection too grounds you because it allows you to step back and see the bigger picture, reminding you that every challenge carries a lesson and every setback carries hidden meaning. When you are spiritually grounded, you stop being tossed around by every opinion, every failure, every criticism. Instead, you develop an anchor within. People may insult you, but their words do not decide your worth. Situations may go against your plan, but your faith tells you it is not the end of the journey. Even when the path ahead is unclear, grounding assures you that you are being guided, that there is light beyond the darkness, and that no storm lasts forever. This gives you the power to remain calm when others are losing themselves. Spiritual grounding also creates humility. It reminds you that you are not the ultimate controller of life. You may plan, you may work hard, but there are forces beyond you that shape the outcome. Accepting this truth releases a tremendous burden from your shoulders. You no longer feel the need to control everything, and in that release, calmness blossoms. You learn to surrender what is beyond your reach while focusing on what is within your control. That balance creates both peace and strength. Many people seek peace in possessions, positions, or people, but true and lasting calmness cannot come from something that can be taken away. Spiritual grounding, however, is untouchable because it comes from within. It cannot be stolen by circumstances, it cannot be broken by failure, and it cannot be diminished by criticism. It stays with you everywhere, whether in the noise of the marketplace, in the silence of a temple, or in the loneliness of your struggles. A spiritually grounded person becomes like a lighthouse on a stormy night. While others panic and lose direction, such a person shines with steadiness, guiding others towards safety. And this is not because they never face fear or doubt, but because they have practiced returning to their anchor again and again. Each prayer, each meditation, each reflection deepens their roots, making them unshakable. This grounding does not make life easy, but it makes you stronger than whatever life brings. It teaches you that calmness is not found in controlling the world outside, but in anchoring yourself deeply within. When you stand on that foundation, no storm can uproot you, no chaos can drown you, and no difficulty can take away your peace. Consistency is the secret ingredient that transforms calmness from a temporary state into a permanent strength. Anyone can remain calm once in a while when circumstances are favorable or when they consciously remind themselves. But true mastery of the mind comes when calmness becomes your natural habit, when it flows effortlessly, even in the most unexpected moments. Just like physical fitness is not achieved by exercising once, but by training regularly, mental calmness is not built by practicing awareness or gratitude occasionally. It is built by repeating these disciplines daily until they become part of who you are. Consistency is what turns an action into a habit and a habit into a character. Think of water dripping on a stone. One drop may seem insignificant, but when it falls again and again over time, even the hardest rock is shaped by it. In the same way, small consistent practices, pausing before reacting, breathing deeply, choosing perspective, reflecting, being grateful, gradually reshape your inner world. At first, it may feel difficult. The old habits of anger, panic, and restlessness will try to pull you back. But with repetition, the mind learns new pathways. Just as a muscle strengthens with exercise, the muscle of calmness strengthens with practice. The power of consistency is also seen in how it builds trust within yourself. Every time you succeed in staying calm, even in a small situation, you prove to yourself that you are capable. That inner proof builds confidence. And when a bigger storm arrives, You already have a history of victories to remind you that you can handle it. Without consistency, you may succeed once but fail the next time because the foundation is weak. With consistency, even failures become lessons because you do not stop. You keep training, you keep practicing. It is important to understand that calmness is not a switch you turn on and off, it is a state you cultivate. If you practice calmness only when problems arrive, it will be too late because the storm will be stronger than your preparation. But if you train your mind every day through small acts of awareness, silence, gratitude, and reflection, then when the big storms come, calmness will already be your default response. You won't need to struggle to find it. It will rise naturally from within you. Consistency also demands patience. Just as no tree grows tall overnight, calmness cannot be mastered in a week or a month. Some days you will feel you failed, that you reacted too quickly, that you lost your balance. But even those days are part of the process, because every failure is a reminder to try again. The beauty of consistency is that it does not require perfection, only persistence. If you fall 9 times and rise 10, you are still training. If you react today but pause tomorrow, you are still progressing. Over time, consistency creates transformation so deep that people around you begin to notice. They see that you no longer get shaken by small irritations, that you respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively, that you carry a steady presence even when life throws challenges your way. And this change did not come from a single moment of inspiration. It came from daily, consistent effort. When calmness becomes your consistent practice, it no longer feels like something external you are trying to achieve. It becomes your nature. Just as a river flows without forcing itself, calmness begins to flow through you effortlessly. And that is the true victory of training the mind, not temporary moments of peace, but a lifestyle of calmness that carries you through every high and low,